Welcome to Livingstone Ranch. Today we're not at our ranch. We are at Krakow Noon visiting Wendy talking about Colorado mountain dogs. So Alicia and I aren't necessarily experts in everything that we're doing. And so we really do want to talk to maybe the best of the best when it comes to our animals. So today we're going to talk to Wendy and have her tell us or share her knowledge about Colorado mountain dogs. Thank you for having us, Wendy. How are you?
Great.
Can
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us your story and how the Colorado Mountain Dog breed began?
Yes. Colorado Mountain Dog breed began, I guess, technically in 2008 when we had a mountain lion come and eat our three goats. And we had just moved to the country. And although I grew up with horses and on in the context of outdoors and riding and animals, we never had a mountain lion event, and so I realized we need livestock guardian dogs.
Yeah.
I knew nothing about them, so since 2008 when I started the Colorado Mountain Dog, I was not an expert. um, all I knew at that point, I researched breeds. I went to farms and ranches, and most of the dogs I met were pretty hostile to people they didn't know, which wouldn't have worked for us because we had a small acreage and lots of visiting guests. And these dogs would sometimes meet me growling and barking, and I just thought, can't have this on our property. Mm-hmm. And I actually eventually gave up. And then what happened was that I was teaching guitar at the time, and one of my students, her parents, raised alpacas, and they were looking for livestock guardian dog, and they found a puppy they liked, and they just went ahead and bought the brother, and they emailed me and said, we bought a puppy for you, and if you like him, we'll trade you 2 guitar lessons. Great. So that is the glorious beginning of the Colorado Mountain Dog. It sounds funny, but I looked at the picture of the puppy and my heart started beating really hard. And I looked at my husband and I said, that's our dog and we have to go get it right now. That was Caspian, the founding stud of the Colorado Mountain Dog.
Original Colorado Mountain Dog.
There was something in his eyes. Something in his eyes.
And what breeds were in
him? He was later DNA tests showed that he was 3/4 Great Pyrenees and 1/4 Anatolian Shepherd. And he grew up and he was just like no dog I've ever imagined. He was huge for one thing, but he was built more like an archival European Great Pyrenees, if that makes sense. They were tall, not long and rectangular, but as tall as long. So we would say that a square build. He did not have the really thick, long coat of a Pyrenees. He had medium length hair on his body. It was longer around his neck and on his tail, but very easy care. And he shed out the dirt so that he, in spite of his life, running in this canyon, he was always so clean and white. And he loved people. Yeah. He was one in a million. What we call today in our breed that unicorn, who really was worthy of starting a breed. And I've worked with all kinds of animals all my life. It was the last thing in the world to think about starting a breed. It's a massive, massive project. I knew it then, but I still didn't know how massive it was. It really is massive. But what happened was he just did the job so perfectly and so beautifully. He kept our 35 acres safe. But he loved people, and he was almost a therapy dog. Like he would come up to people that visited us, and he would just look at them, and his tail would be wagging, and then he would just do this.
Yeah.
You know, and people would just go, wow, what's this? And he was so big, you know, that they would laugh because he was every bit like a Great Dane, you know, in terms of size.
Yeah.
And so he was slender, he was very athletic. He had big leg bones, not little tiny feet, but great big lion feet, you know. And when it came time to fix him, it felt wrong.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm gonna start a line of dogs. I'm gonna call them the Colorado Mountain Dogs. And the reason for the name, besides we lived in Colorado, but we are a more populated state. We have a lot of urban areas, and we have a lot of properties, lots of them on the edge of urban areas that intersect with wildlife in wildlife areas. And you know, I was just one of what I figured would be many people who would have no use for a dog that had a 3-mile parameter, you know, and was hostile to people.
Right.
Now, this dog, I could let him loose, and he guarded our 35 acres and not much further. And so he is just a gift. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
And so I purchased a few females of his same cross and shipped them in. And they were great dogs. Not honestly too much in his ballpark.
Okay.
But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And then that's how you begin. You get outcross genetics. You begin to select for traits, and then you start educating. And there were plenty of people that needed the trait set, and so there was no shortage of people who were enthusiastic. And so that's how it began.
You talked about the trait sets. What are the most desirable trait sets for a Colorado Mountain Dog?
So the traits, there's different layers of traits. One is the, you know, and what I would consider the most important one, and definitely the one that we're focusing on in the first, it's been 15 or 16 now years, and we have to keep focusing on it, is the function. And so what that means would be the guarding aptitudes, smaller acreages. Most people have chickens. They need to be really easy to train and integrate with poultry. They need to just have that desire to protect a small acreage. They need to enjoy people. So that is really the Colorado Mountain Dog niche that makes the breed unique. You know, it's not that doesn't exist out there in livestock guardian dog land. It does, but not with every dog. A lot of dogs are almost feral in how they work, and they have to be because they've been bred originally, you know, to be able to be released into vast wilderness or work on big ranches where they have to make their own decisions, and where people don't just have animal predators. They have people predators too, people stealing animals and things like that. But on smaller acreages, we have the different problem of, is my livestock guardian dog going to be able to get along with my milk share customers and their children, you know? And also, what about when I have grandchildren? Are they going to be able to visit? Am I going to have to lock my dogs up? That kind of thing. That it for me and for many people that have properties that aren't vast, they're not as worried about human bad people, I guess. Even though we're not asking our dogs to be stupid when it comes to protecting against people.
Right.
But that's where we want the discernment rather than the default I will attack people that I don't know. We want them to, okay, you pass.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really cool how much we've hit that mark after a decade and a half of selecting for it. A lot of people just are sending in such great reports, like even like you guys today, because you took one of my puppies a few years back, and she's it.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes me really happy to hear, because we're still in development, and genetics is not what people think. We can affect genetics slowly, steadily, but they're still all individuals too. Those dogs are very much their own canine people, so it's a work in progress.
And also, like, I can speak to that a little bit with what you were saying of them being cautious to people coming on the property, but also being tender and sweet and knowing that it's okay and it's safe. We've had people come visit our own property, and if we're not around, the dogs are barking and they are alert.
Yeah.
And they are ready. But the minute we get outside, they know they're safe. And they're just calm.
Yeah.
And they're quiet and they're gentle and they're sweet, and they can be around kids and babies and everybody, and there's no issues.
Yeah.
They want to actually make sure that they're taken care of, the little ones, you know?
Yeah.
And so, so I definitely can speak to that and see, you know, like what a joy they are and what a difference it is than just a livestock guardian dog that is just always on guard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So Katana comes from Krakow Noon Ranch here. This is our female that we have, and we have a video on her if you want to check that out.
And I actually placed her for another ranch. I think it's Morning Star or out in Cortez. The stud was Oberon, my big giant stud that I had here, and he was bred by WFF. Those are, so we each have farm letters. So my farm is Krakow Noon, and my farm letters are CNK. And
we're
that's on
the ranch,
right?
Yeah,
LSR, and that goes on the registration of the dogs, so that everybody permanently always knows where a dog was born. So Katana, it is not a CNK. She's MSB something. I'd have to look it up. But that was their first litter, and I wanted one. So because I have the stud, so I brought, I think it was 8 of them here.
Okay. And
raised them, and then you guys got Katana,
and we're so thankful. We love her.
Yay. Yep.
We talked a little bit about there being, different older breeds within the Colorado Mountain Dog breed. How many breeds would you say make up Colorado Mountain Dogs?
Oh, I don't know. So,
or can you list maybe some of the main ones?
Yes, I can. And in this, we caught a little bit of flack from the livestock guardian dog world in general. I was writing about this on our Facebook page today. And that is, it stems from the legitimate problem where intact dogs run loose on our ranches and have oops litters, and they're half, husky, half Great Pyrenees, and then they're sold as livestock guardian dogs, which that it doesn't really work to do that. So the skepticism might at least have a legitimate origin. But in our case, we do have very small percentages of non-livestock guardian dog breeds in our breed, but not intentionally.
Yeah. So
because what we're doing is we're selecting dogs for their success at guarding, right, in these contexts. So instead of being a designer breed where we have deliberately crossed this percentage of this livestock guardian dog and this percentage of this livestock guardian dog, we're actually just interviewing dog owners that want to bring new genetics into our breed, and we still want the percentages to be very high LGD, livestock guardian dog. Yes. We want that. But the idea is if you have, and there are ranch owners that are this, if you've got 5 generations of great working dog, and generations back a lab got into your field.
Right.
But here's this dog with a small percentage of lab. We're not going to reject it. But on the other hand, if you've got this dog that's all livestock guardian or all livestock guardian dog breeds, and it's hostile to people,
right,
we are going to reject it.
Correct. Yeah.
Because we're selecting for function. Actually, I just realized I didn't answer your other question fully. We're selecting for function. That's a trait set. But we do have a physical standard too. It's posted at ColoradoMountainDogs.com. So there's a physical standard. We're just educating that now during development, we want that function and the intelligence and the temperament to be there so that the dog can be useful and doesn't wind up in shelters, like a lot of livestock guardian dogs do, because they're cute puppies.
Yeah.
Then they're 120-pound beasts with food aggression in somebody's kitchen with toddlers, and that doesn't work. So, what was your next question that you asked me?
I guess maybe throughout most Colorado Mountain Dogs, what would you say are the main 4 breeds that have gone into it?
Yeah, of course. So, unquestionably, Great Pyrenees is our biggest percentage. And then unquestionably, the next one that comes along is the Anatolian Shepherd. So I'll stop there for just a minute and say, it's not any Great Pyrenee and not any Anatolian Shepherd. They really need to be accepting of people to get in.
Yeah.
And then after that, we probably have, Kuvash and Maremma and other livestock guardian dog breeds in smaller and smaller percentages. And then way down in the little percentages, you're going to find, I don't know, Lab, St. Bernard, Chihuahua, Coyote, who knows?
Yeah.
And then if you take a dog and it's a unicorn and it's highly functional on a small farm with people and animals, and let's say it's 15% collie, which I'm actually thinking of one of our really great founding studs who was supposed to be pure Anatolian. Then they did the DNA.
And he had
so this is what we're faced with. These great dogs. All right, you're going to come into the Colorado Mountain Dog. You need a DNA test and test the hips and all that. And so they do that and they come back just, oh, no, it's got collie. And it's like, well, we're not, we'd shoot ourselves in the foot because in many cases, since we are looking for a dog that can function better on a small farm, maybe a tiny bit of collie kind of knocks the edge off of some of the feralness of those
other ones,
those,
aggressors,
high work drive. Yeah. So it's not always a liability to have a little bit of that. And in fact, the best kidding dog. So if you don't know a lot about livestock guardian dogs, if you get a kidding dog, you've got gold because they're the ones that can actually be in the field with pregnant animals. And they, when your goat doe is giving birth, all the other animals want to crowd around. It's of interest. There's biology happening.
Yeah. Everybody's
interested. All the other dogs and all the other goats it might be a goat doe that is not dominant. So a dominant doe wants to push her out of the way, but you can't. She's having a kid.
Yeah.
So if you have a kidding dog, they preside over this.
Yeah.
And keep everything away. They want to keep the doe and the baby clean, but not so much so that they could do damage before the afterbirth is delivered.
Yeah.
They'll wait, and then they'll clean everything and everybody up, and they won't let anywhere near the animal. My best kidding dog I ever had about 15% lab in it.
Okay.
And about 8% Saint Bernard.
Mm.
And he outshone a lot of those straight 3/4 Pyrenean 1/4 Anatolian Shepherd.
Yeah.
So, and that dog has great grand pups in our breed.
Yeah.
He was a founding stud. He was actually, I didn't breed him. He was developed on a ranch in Wyoming by somebody who was also a professional AKC dog showing person for decades. But she had her ranch and she needed her functional dogs. And so that's where this dog came from.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really interesting.
Okay, so we have G4 Katana and G4 Leo Bear, and also we have G5 Kimono and G5 Samurai. What does the G's mean?
Okay, so
explain that to to everybody watching.
Yeah, some when a breed is developed, commonly they'll use foundation dog FD, and then they'll use either F1, F2, F3, etc., or G1 for generation 1, 2, 3, and really different breeds have different generational requirements before ascending to purebred status, and it just is an indication of how many generations of effort went into development. So it's interesting because function plays such a high part of the Colorado Mountain Dogs that if they're being bred properly, it shouldn't really make a lot of difference in terms of quality. I mean, Caspian was a cross, so he was entered as a G1. A purebred can only be a foundation dog. Because we don't want to infringe on other breeds, and a lot of this has to do with breed distinction. And a lot of the way you write a breed standard has to do that too. Like our breed standard, I'm really confident in it. It's unique. Mm-hmm. I mean, when they're bred right, you don't look at them and go, "Oh, Great Pyrenees." You look at them and go, "Huh, what is that?"
Yeah,
because they're tall and slender, and they have a more refined head, for not a lot of drool. They're just practically built. So Caspian was that, even though he was a G1, he was one of the best. But hopefully by the time you've ascended through the generations and get to G5, they really represent the breed standard. That's the hope. And how it works is if you breed a foundation to a foundation, you get a G1. If you breed a foundation to a G3, you still get a G1 because a puppy can only advance one generation higher than its lowest parent. Okay, and so then the other thing that this G structure does is it helps us maximize our diversity, because if we bred all of our FDs to G4s, then when you go to have a G5, where do you find another G5 mate that is truly outcross? You know what I mean? So the other part of that structure is that it just maximizes diversity. I'll tell you what, that is the number one thing in developing a breed. The number one mistake I've seen across the board, not just dogs, horses, everything, is that people don't realize that, for instance, the Canine Institute of Biology recommends a breed does not close a stud book until it has 500 unrelated foundation dogs. So back in the beginning when I said this is a massive project, it's massive. We are just right at 300 dogs. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't have genetic diversity, you will breed yourself into a black hole, and your animals will finally start to mutate and be weak. And you have to track it.
Right.
Over here, you're tracking the traits, and you have your standard and the goals in mind, and so it sounds cold to say a dog has to be utilitarian, but this is what you gift your dog with, so that this dog has a function, so it has a home. A dog that doesn't have a function, even if the function is just to be loving, those are the dogs that wind up in the shelter. Yeah. And people don't realize what an effort it is to really ride these genetics, because in the wild, nature is going to ride them. Nature really rides their genetics, and so if we're going to be involved with domestic animals on any level, there has to be some point where these breeds, there's an organization, because it's too big for one person to do. We have to ride their genetics. And fortunately, when we call an animal, it isn't like a bear comes along and eats it. All we have to do to call is spay or neuter. And when a dog is not breeding quality, it should be spayed or neutered. Yeah. And then the traits that we select and want, that's what we go forward with. And it doesn't matter if a breed is in development or firmly established. This always has to go on, because a breed that is not improving is declining. Yeah. And that's where you get into they're just like math problems with this adopt, don't shop. Well, it's really expensive. Like, people that do genetics right, they're not going to be like millionaires off this, Yeah. And if nobody is writing the genetics, dog breeds will become dysfunctional and unhealthy, by the way. Yeah. So that then you're coasting, and then you're declining, and a lot of pet breeds display this, where their inbreeding coefficients are not tracked. And it's a bad light is put on breeders, which is a shame, really. It's just based on, well, I don't know what it's not very scientific, or it's not even really reality, but it is a part of great importance in all of our relationships with our canine friends or any domestic animal that we're involved in. And anyway, so that's the long answer of what a G structure is. It's this thing that underrides a breed. And I, by the way, don't plan on closing the stud book of this breed. Why would I do that? The reason people close a stud book on a pet dog breed is because they're really striving for a physical standard. And it really does blow a physical standard. When you have to continue to add outcross dogs that have not had their physical standards selected. It just sends you right back to square one. But in this case, it's so interesting, the Colorado Mountain Dog, because it's a working breed, and because we have this vast country of almost land-race dogs working in fields where owners have said already, I just have found that when I cross a Great Pyrenee with an Anatolian Shepherd, I get a really utilitarian dog. And through the years, I've selected the ones that are calmer around people, because that's a part of my small acreage. So it's out there, and we're looking for those traits, and pulling them in and selecting and creating a registry, so that the many, many, many people now who are wanting to homestead and have a smaller acreage farm can have a breed that is going to be useful and also a joyful part of their family. They add so much. I mean, they're so special. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. They're great dogs.
Yeah.
Would you say, let me change that. When would you say a Colorado Mountain Dog would be purebred then? At what point?
Right, good question. So in the beginning, the rare breed, the American Rare Breed Association helped us to structure and get started. we're independent of that now. But they had a 5 generation path to purebred. So in their case, it would be a foundation, 2 foundation dogs, and then breeding all the way up to a G5, which they would call purebred. So it's arbitrary. There are cat registries that will register a cat OC at the end of the registration number for outcross for 8 generations. So technically ours is 6 generations, a foundation and then 5 generations. And I'll tell you what, when you're a breeder, you know, you'll sometimes get your 2 G3s. All right, you've been working 3 years, you got your 2 G3s, and then they grow up and they're 2 years old and you go, oh, that didn't work.
I gotta start over.
So it's not like you can start with 2 foundations and 6 or 7 years later have purebreds. It takes some work and it takes selections. There are setbacks, but there's no real reason to just want to get to that G5. There's no reason. What you want to get to is a great dog. No matter what G, that's where you want to get. And you just do that by pairing great dogs.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about their traits. One of my favorite traits with the Colorado Mountain Dogs is they do not drool. I absolutely love it. And I think maybe the only real con of a Colorado Mountain Dog that we see, at least from ours, is the amount of hair that ends up, in our vehicles if we take them someplace. And so that would be the biggest con for us. What would you say is maybe your favorite part or trait? Maybe not, I'm not talking about protecting livestock or being friendly towards people, but the other traits that we've talked about that are part of the Colorado Mountain Dog. Because going to pet a dog and it not drooling all over you is it's wonderful.
Yes, and we wanted a little bit more refined of a muzzle, in part just for breed distinction, because we know that the Great Pyrenees are heavy. They're actually, the Americanized Great Pyrenees are a heavier dog with some more jowls, maybe. I mean, I have to say, within breeds, there is a great variation. It just depends on who's raising them, what they like. But I considered it a matter of function. Yeah, people don't want to hug a dog and get sopping wet.
Yeah.
This was a dog that was going to relate to people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I thought that was very functional. And as to the coats, what I usually tell people is that in general, the dogs don't shed badly. Like, you can have a Colorado Mountain Dog in the house and it not shed badly unless it's molting, which they do. Yeah. They get rid of their winter coat, and then it looks like somebody slaughtered a polar bear in your house. Oh my gosh, it just comes out in big handfuls of undercoat, For somebody like me, I put it in bags because I'm a needle felter, and you won't find a better fiber. You can make yarn. I don't know. We actually do have Colorado Mountain Dog breeders that make yarn.
That's cool.
And it's very warm, high quality stuff. So, I don't know. Fiber dogs.
Okay. Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
As a yak rancher, I would say the yak fiber is better than the Colorado Mountain Dog. Just throwing that out there. But
we don't know the quality,
but I do agree with Wendy. When they are molting, it is way worse than my yaks. There's so much hair.
Oh,
but other than that, it seems it's not too bad.
I will try to find that. I do have a picture of Caspy in my living room. So what I would do is I'd give him a bath, his annual bath, and lay him down, and I would just start to get the undercoat out. And I have a picture of him lying there all clean, just hair all around him after I brushed him out. I'll try to find that picture. But you asked me what my favorite aspect of the dog, and it would have to be their essence. I mean, and that's the hardest thing to describe. They're just, they're magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love ours. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Okay, so I think I just really have one more question, and then
Okay.
if we could maybe meet some of your dogs, that would be great.
All right, let's go to the barn then.
Well, last question
Oh,
would be,
yeah, one
where can
question. Okay.
people find out more? I mean, so we talked about the genetics and the mapping, and so we have Colorado Mountain Dog has all that for every registered Colorado Mountain Dog, right?
Yeah.
But where can we go to find just more information on Colorado Mountain Dogs in general?
The best place would be our website, which is coloradomountaindogs.com.
ColoradoMountainDogs.com.
Yeah.
I will put a link down below. Thank you very much, Wendy. I appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And
Thank you,
yeah,
guys.
we're excited to go see your dogs.
Yeah. All right. Kiko. I saw the name Kiko. It's so weird. And I just
Yeah.
out. Out. All right, come on.
Hello.
All right, come
Hello,
on.
ladies.
Good puppies.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Oh, you need some attention
And
too.
I don't teach them not to jump.
Thank you for watching, and a special thank you to Wendy and Krakow Noon Farms for hosting us today. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe to Livingstone Ranch. Also, check out our other videos on Colorado Mountain Dogs, and we hope that you'll consider a Colorado Mountain Dog if you're looking for a livestock guardian dog. Thanks for watching.